Good morning, everyone. Call to order. The special meeting of the Governing Board of Education is called to order by Dr. Joseph Komorowski at 9:32 a.m. on Monday, December 18, 2023 at the District Office, Conference Centers, Room A through C. Approval of the agenda. Are there any requests for changes to the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion and a second to approve.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wiersma. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Wiersma,
Yes.
Komorowski.
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. Now we're in open session. In attendance, we have Governing Board, Mrs. Allison Barclay, myself, Dr. Joseph Komorowski, Mr. Stephen Schwartz, and Mrs. Jennifer Wiersma. Secretary of the Board, we have Dr. Gary Woods, Superintendent, Mrs. Lene, and a CBAR, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent. Would everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? If you have a hat on, may you place it over your heart. Any board member want to lead us today besides me?
I will.
All right, Mr. Schwartz.
Please remove your hat if you're wearing one. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Thank you, everybody. Okay, now we have public comments. For special board meetings, public comments are restricted to only items listed on the special meeting agenda, Government Code 54954.3. Public comments are allowed up to a maximum of 3 minutes per comment in order received, to a maximum of 30 minutes per item for comments on the agenda items or non-agenda items. For consent agenda item topics, a limit of 3 minutes total will be allowed from one speaker. Unless the item has been placed on the published agenda in accordance with the Brown Act, no action will be taken. No discussion will be made regarding personnel issues in open session. All public comments are an essential part of the board meeting and are carefully considered by the governing board. Are there any public comments? I think we have 5, so that's an easy 3 minutes apiece. My thought on this too is that if anybody wants to announce, if we do appointment, which we haven't voted yet, but if we do, it might be proper at this time, and I've run it by General Legal. If you want to announce that you're interested in running for trustee area 2, maybe this is a time to let us know who you are, even though we will formally run that out if we go through the adoption process. Other than that, please keep it civil. You might hear things that you disagree with, and yeah.
First up is Teresa Owens, followed by Christy McClure.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, my first time. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your service. My name is Teresa Owens. This is my first time speaking at a board meeting. I've watched them mostly all on YouTube, and I'm a 21-year resident of the city. My girls have gone through the school district, had an amazing education. I'm a CPA, and the reason I mention that is because in my job, I have to use logic and critical thinking every day. There's things that my clients want to do, and I have to say, nope, can't do it, but you have to use that critical thinking. I'm just up here to hope that you guys can appoint someone that, you know, we have a new superintendent now. I think Mrs. Wiersma and you, Dr. Komorowski, spoke about being able to move forward in a positive direction. And I think this, with the circumstances, is the perfect time to do that. If you can appoint someone that you guys can collaborate, because you know, you promised your constituents that you would do all these things, and honestly, looking at it from a logical standpoint, some of them were done kind of under questionable circumstances, I would say. And, you know, Mr. Gonzalez touted at his last board meeting that, you know, you guys did what you wanted to do the last year. Great. Happy for you too. However, moving forward, I think it's important that we get back to collaborating and using reasonableness and including all of you to make decisions. And I'm hoping that bringing somebody that may not totally agree with you two and may not totally agree with you two, you guys can get back to watching board meetings and not being absolutely disgusted as to what's happening to our school district on both ways. So I'm just up here asking, don't spend any more money. Don't do a special election. Just appoint. We have so many good people here in Temecula. This is a great community, always has been. And it's sickening now to see what's going on. So you guys can fix this, all four of you, by collaborating and getting someone that's actually gonna make you guys think, all four of you, and come together and make the best decisions for our community, our kids. I'm up here, I have no more kids in the district, but I want these kids that are coming up to have the same education that my girls had, which, my youngest one is graduating college in June, and it has made them worldly and positive members of society. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Christy McClure, followed by Edgar Diaz.
Good morning. To sort of reiterate what our previous speaker said, that I really hope that you choose to appoint versus special election, that you as a board really choose to start working together, to collaborate, to seek consensus, and make decisions together as a group. That to really stop the negativity and the insults that we've seen coming from up here. I know there's a lot of it in the community, there's a lot online. You can't control the people in the audience and some of the things that people say and do, but you can control what comes from up here and what you're role modeling. And we all want to see more professionalism and more collaboration. I really hope that you appoint somebody that displays the qualities of good governance, somebody that is going to be involved in the community, that has either been a parent in the district, worked in the district, someone who trusts TVUSD enough to have sent their family to our schools, somebody who's directly involved in our community. When I say good governance and when you're evaluating candidates, these are the things that I'd like you to keep in mind. 1, fiscal responsibility. No wasteful spending, keeping the budget balanced, ensuring spending matches the priorities of our community. 2, fact-based decision-making. Makes decisions based on facts, not misinformation, junk science, or uncorroborated evidence. No personal opinions or religious doctrine driving decisions. 3, professional behavior, especially at meetings, but also at events and on social media. That they're gonna follow Robert's rules, they're gonna listen to the public, they're gonna display appropriate use of closing comments time, allow professional discussion and debate amongst the board members. You guys should be debating, not arguing. Stakeholder input, making sure that policies and decisions include input by a variety of stakeholders, or at least take into account the impact on all stakeholders. Someone who doesn't weigh input by non-community members more heavily than actual community members. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do policies and actions in every form of communication demonstrate inclusivity and respect for the diverse populations served? Do policies and board member actions seek to improve equity as a community in Temecula? Number 6, honesty, being truthful in word and deed. We would like to see more of that, avoiding falsehoods, misinformation, or hiding important facts from the public or other board members. And finally, number 7, follows the rules of office, fulfills the duties of office, following TVUSD board policies and governance handbook, following California Ed Code, the FAIR Act, the Brown Act, all the different laws and rules that govern behavior. These are the 7 things I hope you look for as you're evaluating candidates, and I hope that you 4 are able to collaborate and find somebody. Please, please, please do better. The community is depending on you.
Thank you.
Edgar Diaz, followed by Jeff.
Good morning, board, staff. TVA appreciates the prompt attention to the seat made available by the resignation of students of the Temecula community, needs a viable board to compromise on priorities for the betterment of our learning community and make decisions to support our award-winning district on a continued path to success. The students of TVUSD deserve the support on these ideas. For the moment, though, the resignation leaves the Temecula Valley Board of Education without a board majority and direction. Since the majority in support of certain policies no longer exist, what is the board's plan with respect to controversial policies enacted within the last year? Is it wiser for the board to suspend them, to follow the contract provisions made with TVEA? What direction is viable for litigation? Previously, the district has said that they intend to file a demurrer and an anti-SLAPP motion in opposition to a lawsuit. But since the board no longer has a majority supporting these policies, wouldn't it make more sense to wait until we know what the new board majority supports? The Temecula community awaits to see how this board responds in support of the students of the Temecula Valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Kingsburg, followed by Christine Massa.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Kingsburg. I have lived continuously in Temecula since 1987 and have resided in what has become TVUSD Trustee Area 2 since 2005. Additionally, I have served district students and staff in various roles now for 37 consecutive years. You might say I have a lot of skin in the game. As we determine how to proceed in filling the governing board vacancy, I want to share that Trustee Area 2 needs and deserves immediate representation. I believe the extended timeline associated with the special election will kick that can further down the road. Additionally, there is a reason that the governing board has 5 trustee areas and representatives. An effective 5th trustee can keep our board functioning rather than being entrenched in 2-to-2 gridlock. What is important to Trustee Area 2 residents such as myself in your selection of an appointee until the next scheduled district election in November 2024? I believe the appointee should be knowledgeable about our district operations and ideally have worked with TVUSD students and staff in some capacity. I believe they should have a proven track record of working well with various others and demonstrated a good temperament. I believe they should be independent of any political faction or political religious congregation affiliated with any of the 4 current board members. I believe they should practice deliberation and restraint in governance, not subscribing to the overzealous approach emphasized by the past board majority. In closing, Trustee Area 2 does not need a clone of Mr. Gonzalez to fill his abdicated seat. His angry and spiteful vitriol last week in board comments clearly demonstrated the district needs to progress in a new direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker.
Christine Massa.
Good morning and happy holidays to you. Mr. Schwartz, I hope you had a nice Hanukkah. I want to take a moment and say that you have the ability to make this an easy process. You have 2 choices. You have opportunity. You can come together and agree to appoint someone, as our previous board did by appointing the amazing Allison Barclay, which I would agree was a fantastic move as she represents trustee area very well. Or you can use bad governance and not put in the effort and take it to a special election. Now, I think Mrs. McClure and Mr. Kingsburg did a great job in explaining what would make a great candidate, and I'm sure that we already have people in the community who would fit that bill without taking it to a special election, people that you can agree on. Now, we already have one very likely special election happening because of bad governance. However, you can choose to use good governance and appoint someone and avoid another special election. This is in your control. You can come together and do this. Remember, it's about the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let everybody go first if you want. I can go last or whatever.
So we just, excuse me, discussing our recommended process.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, we have either special election or appoint, by appointment.
Yeah. I mean, I did go through the appointment process a couple of years ago. I thought it was super smooth process. It was done really well. In fact, other districts have come to me since then and said, how did you guys do that? I mean, I didn't do it, but how did the board do that? What was the process? As an applicant, it was super easy and smooth, very well done all the way around. I prefer to try. I mean, nobody's blind here. We know it's 2-2 right now. But in the spirit of compromise, I think we should give it a shot. I mean, it would be great to get someone in here who could come in with an open mind and you know, we can all work together a little bit better. I think we should give it a try. It will save the district a lot of money in the long run. It's really probably the best way to go.
Bless you.
As far to be fiscally responsible and to give the process a try and to show, as a show of good faith, that we're willing to work together through a process. I think, I mean, we can talk more details later, but, you know, establishing a committee, I think Lene's done a ton of work. Thank you, Lene. Getting all the research about exactly how it's supposed to be done. And we do have the institutional knowledge since it has been done just a couple of years ago. So that would be my preference.
Go ahead, Jen.
Am I able to ask you a question on when you went through that experience, what did you most appreciate and what do you think you would like to do differently this time around? Because that was one thing I wanted to glean from you because I do know you've got experience. So what's further insight on how you could take that and make it applicable if we move forward in this situation?
So, I mean, the way it went was the word went out. I didn't know anything about it. To be honest, I wasn't really involved with the school board before I applied very much. I went to a couple meetings, I think it was just one, and I went back and watched a bunch on YouTube, but I was involved with the schools, but not necessarily the board, so I didn't have really any idea what to expect. But we filled out the application, it was online, really simple, turned it in, and I think it was posted what the day of that meeting would be when the application was out, which was helpful. And then they told us the time to come. We went back and sat in that room. That's where I met Frank, Mr. Arce, for the first time, and he sat with the candidates. We came in at different times, and we sat in there, and at a certain time, he gave us the questions that were gonna be asked. So we had maybe, you can correct me, Frank, it was maybe about 15 minutes to sit in that room and review the questions, and that was helpful. So it wasn't like you had too much time, but you did have a little bit of time. And then we came in here, and there were like 5 people here. What's that?
I said there were 4 of us interviewing you.
Yes, yes. But in the audience, there were probably like 5 people.
Yeah.
Hardly anyone here. So sat here at a little table. They went down the line. I think everyone only asked one question. And then I started out like they gave me a time to talk about myself, just to tell everyone who I was. Then we went down the line and asked the questions. And then once you finished, you could sit here and watch the rest of the process. So I didn't see anyone before me speak, but I saw the people after me. And then they went through the awkward process of discussing it, which the board did such a good job. And I think the tactic they took, I don't know if you guys talked about it, Steve, but they only said the things they liked.
Yes.
They didn't say anything negative.
Exactly.
And then everyone gave their top choices. So
Yeah.
I thought Frank made us feel very comfortable in there. He helped walk us through the process when we walked in. I can't really think of what I would do different, what I would say differently, but yeah, I thought, well, and then right after, they're like, okay, you're in, come on up, we're swearing you in before you can get away. So come on up. So that was like, whoa, okay. But it was fine, it was good. I can't really think of anything that I would say differently, but I just felt like it was, they made it as comfortable as it could be in a highly awkward situation.
Okay, and then we'll take Mr. Schwartz, and then we'll do open discussion, and then I'll go after Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz?
Well, as someone who did the interviewing with the other 3 board members, it actually was a very smooth process. I think we had, I'm trying to remember, we had 7? Yeah, we had quite a few candidates. After they all spoke, we talked about, as Allison said, who we thought was impressive or we felt would be a good addition to the board. Really didn't take very long. We talked about it as a group, and then as she said, we invited her in, we swore her in, we sat her up here, and we went on, and that was it. And it was a really good cooperative process. Even though we did have disagreement about who we wanted, we did come to consensus about, we did come to consensus about Allison, that we felt in the end she would, because of her position in the Boys and Girls Club, her experience with children, her experience in the community, Being a parent in the district, we felt that her commitment would be to doing what was best for the district. So it really was easy, no big deal, no cost nothing, didn't cost a penny, and I think it worked out very well.
And
Thank
it
you,
was
Mr.
a
Schwartz.
3-1 vote. It was a 3-1 vote. I didn't get a 4-0 vote.
Oh, okay, thank you, everyone. I agree 100% with everybody up here. So there's another thing to consider as well. When I was at CSBA Masters in Governance, we talked to Hazel, and you know her, Allison, from Fallbrook. They had a divided board, and they said that they went through the application process, and I go, how'd you do that? She said, well, we hired CSBA to come down and train us and really center in on our values, and surprisingly, we had 8 possible candidates, and all 4 board members agreed on that one candidate. I'm like, how? And they did training on like what was really important, 2 to 3 values for each board member, and they overlapped so well that they were able to avoid this special election. So if the board's on board with that, I would suggest it. If not, okay. But I think the extra training might actually help, like a workshop one day. It'll cost, I think it's cheap, but we can discuss that. It's $3,700. And then Bob Kane will come down. I talked to Tracy at the CSBA, and we have dates. We have January 16th workshop, but we have to, if we go that route, we'd have to approve the contract in open session before the 16th. So my thought is to flip the board meetings and make the 16th a normal board meeting, and the 30th a work. Never mind. The 16th is a normal board board meeting. If we went that route, we could approve the contract. Then the very next meeting, January 30th, could be the workshop for the CSBA. I prefer to have the vision statement working on that as a workshop, but I'm open. Of course, I'm open to the appointment, so it looks like we would have a 4-0 there. I'm also open with forming a subcommittee with you, Allison, and that we review the application process, or the people that are applying. I know there's 4 criteria. You have to be 18, no felony, registered to vote, live in trustee area 2. And so that's pretty easy, but we could think of questions in subcommittee or even now. Jen had an idea, and it was that, once we get through the application process and possible training and people interview in open session, we give them a 5-minute display, like on their comments. Hey, you got 5 minutes? And we embed the questions in, we give them the questions beforehand, and they just give us a 5-minute speech. I don't know how you guys did it, but that was a possible option.
Here's my concern, and first of all, I want to thank the people who shared this morning. I appreciate your commentary. It's a mixed bag for me in thinking through it, because obviously when you go through a campaign process, you go through a fire of sorts in really sorting through what you believe in, meeting the community. There's a process, there's a dedication, there is a gumption to be out there and know why you're pursuing what you're doing. And so obviously we know, Allison, when you were appointed, it was a little bit of a different era. And I think it was great that that worked out well. And I think if we go this route, I want to be sure there's some additional thought into what other layer could be included so that it's not a 5-minute statement and we choose. I think that that is difficult. So I would just want to be sure in a subcommittee or in some type of scenario in delving through this, we can think what more could be done. I really want to make sure that we do it right. I know we do have a lot of amazing people in the community, but I would have questions on, do we get to see information prior or not? Is that the only day? Is there, someone even suggested to me this weekend, well, what if there were a town hall of sorts, or participation through freedom of the press where people might be able to represent? I don't know. I'm not adhered to any one idea. I'm just wanting to be sure that there's more to it than, a 5-minute presentation.
Well, yeah, we're allowed to engage with the audience, correct me if I'm wrong, and I talked to generally, we're allowed to. My thought is if it's packed in here, hopefully there's no, fights in the audience, people yelling over each other, but after a presentation, we're allowed to engage. It's just that we make the best time and we embed the questions before they present, so that instead of asking them these questions maybe on the spot, like general ones, they already anticipate that and they're already answering them. That way we reduce and we mitigate the possible chance of the audience yelling. People are going to disagree when they're up there speaking.
Yeah,
We all know this.
And I think And I hear what you're saying, and I do think, you know, parts of that could be valuable, but I think it's also important to be able to ask them questions that they aren't anticipating.
Yeah,
That they
yeah, I
maybe
agree.
only had 15 minutes to think about, because you know how it is when you're up here. You can't always anticipate, and so, and it's not really a campaign process, it's a short appointment, it's provisional, it's only until November. They have to run again in November, no matter what.
That was my other question, is if
Yes.
clarity could be
Yes.
discussed in terms of that.
Yeah.
So if somebody were appointed, then they would
They're
go into the
campaigning until
campaign
November.
season of sorts,
Yeah.
knowing they might win in November or the time
Yeah,
might be up.
or if they don't want to, they don't have to.
Yeah.
They
Right.
could come in and say, hey, I'm willing to come in
Exactly.
and get you guys through until November. And maybe, you know, they don't want to run. They're
Maybe
just,
that's one of the questions we asked you.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan on
They did.
staying? Okay.
and they did ask me that.
I think the process is pretty clear in bylaw 9223, and the direction that we got for Riverside County Office of Education. I think because of the business of the board that we have to conduct, we need to get somebody up here so that we can vote on things that are critical that come up, and not have a 2-2 vote on everything where we can't get things moved. I was hoping that with the new year coming, we can perhaps foster a new spirit of cooperation on the board where we all work together for the benefit of the students and the district. So I would propose, Lene, you have the questions that we asked the last time around. We could give them to the board, see if they want to modify them, they want to add on to them, take away from them. Excuse me. As I said, it was a very easy process. There was no rancor, there was no fighting in the audience. Yes, people in the audience wanted X, Y, or Z person, but we finally made the decision, and I think it worked out really well. And since a special election is way off in the distance, we need to get someone on this board so we can keep working on the business of the district. Joe, I like your idea about bringing in someone from CSBA to guide us along. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
And, yeah, maybe we could do that as part of the process.
Anybody else agree with that? Because we could possibly set it up for the contract to come in January and then do a workshop on the 30th, or even do another special session before the 30th. I don't know.
We can still advertise
Yeah,
the positions.
of course.
So people can start submitting resumes or start letting us know they want to fill the, I'm sorry. We could still advertise it, let people know, so we already have a list of people when we meet, and then we'll go through the process after that. But we should get it out there as soon as we can. The bylaw is pretty specific about advertising and when we should do it. And it's only a 60-day process, so
Yeah.
we need to get moving.
Yep.
And I would say the other piece too is that if by chance we go through this process and we don't agree on someone, we should make sure we're concluding that process in time to hold the election as soon as possible, so we don't sit here for the whole year 2-2. I think it would be better to have it done quickly in case we have to move to an election. Because if we don't agree, then, you know, it would still have to go to an election. So I think I'm not saying like, you know, in 30 days, but I think the timeline that I think Lene put out is.
It's 130 days, so no sooner than 130 days can you go for an election.
Right. So that would mean like if we could conclude it before, I think if we make sure we make a decision very early February, it could at least go on to like a June ballot.
And that's
But
the
if we
thing,
wait, then we're gonna get stuck with November, and we're gonna sit here all year. It's just gonna be difficult for the district to move forward with things.
I hear you, and I checked too with General Legal, and there is no special election date set. There's only a November. So there.
Is there a June?
No, that's, oh, sorry, that's what I meant,
Oh.
June. There's no June special election, and you said that somebody in Riverside County would have to trigger that. So just hanging that out there, it might automatically default to November unless there's a special, but I agree with you, I'd like to exhaust this process first.
Yeah, for sure.
What about a subcommittee? I recommended one, but if you know, do you agree with that?
I'm fine, if that's good with everyone. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't mind.
So then we have to now discuss dates, and I'm open to whatever you guys suggest. I mean, we have a normal meeting in January 16th. We could all have a winter break. My question is, we open up the position to the public. Do the questions that we have go public now before we meet
No.
in January 15th? Yeah, that's what I wanted to
Okay,
know.
and I would suggest that the subcommittee, oh my gosh, that the subcommittee meets and we can discuss the process a little bit more. And I think we should consider, I know, I did talk to Sandy Hinkson, who kind of drove the process on the last board. She has a ton of good advice for us. We could even use her as consultation on the process itself. But she said that even then, they did not release the names of the applicants to the board members. It was like 2 days in advance, which is probably better.
Yeah, to keep it,
It's probably better to just let that be public at the meeting rather than, I don't have to say why.
Do-
It's just better.
yeah, we don't want to, we
Would
don't
it-
want to have electioneering. In other words, we don't need to know who it is until we meet them.
Yeah.
Do you
and
think it's fair for me and you to meet in subcommittee, maybe possibly, like you said, Sandy's advice, and then we get something as far as a contract on for January 16th? That way, if we vote and ratify it right there, then we have time to select when Bob Kane's available from CSBA. He might not be available on the 30th, and we might have to do a special session, but I'm open to that. But do you think in the meantime, me and you just work together?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I can,
For
I
sure.
mean,
All right. I'll do a motion in a second for all this, by the way. I'm just letting everybody know. I'm just kind of hashing
yeah.
out.
Because I think, there's a lot of Tuesdays in, the same amount of Tuesdays in January as there are in every other month, but there are plenty that we could choose
Oh,
from.
there are, huh?
Depending on what's already scheduled for the conference center, but, we could look at squeezing something in on the 23rd if we needed to. And then maybe holding our, sorry, I think I'm getting sick again. Holding our appointment on the 30th even. Because is the 30th supposed to be a workshop?
Yeah.
Maybe our workshop is
Is the
the
special.
appointment, yeah. And the 23rd, if he's available, maybe that week could be the CSBA workshop or something like that, but we could look at calendars and figure that out with Lene and the rest of the board members, if everyone's available.
Okay, well, I think we're all in agreement with the provisional appointment, the subcommittee. We can get a contract on for January,
16th?
16th. Okay, so with that, I'll take a motion a second to approve making a provisional appointment. Give me a second. For the vacant TVUSD trustee area 2 seat, and to direct the administration to initiate the process for soliciting candidate applications according to the board bylaws. Do I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Moved by
Do you-
Mr. Schwartz, yeah.
Oh, sorry, do you want to add the subcommittee
I
piece in
am,
there too?
I
Oh,
am
okay.
right after the.
You can make it
Oh,
part of
yeah,
it, Joe.
that's a part of the motion,
Make
yeah.
it all part of it.
And on that, so that motion includes a subcommittee with Mrs. Barclay and myself to verify the qualifications of the candidates and to make a list of the questions to ask the candidates in order to solicit who the board would like to select as the replacement. Do I have a motion and a second?
Yeah, just one question,
Yeah,
Joe.
yeah.
The conditions for someone to be a candidate are very slim, but once we get the applications, we need to make sure that the person doesn't have any.
100%.
Okay.
Have to be 18, no felonies.
No, besides that, background, some kind of a background check to make sure before we interview them that,
Yes,
that they're
Sandy
okay.
kind of talked to me a little bit about how that was
Yeah.
done last time, so we
Open
could
meeting
walk
of
through
that,
that.
right?
Okay,
They did a whole thing.
yeah.
but
Okay.
Okay, so
Moved.
it's subcommittee moved by Mr. Schwartz.
Second.
I have an additional question.
Okay.
So if we go through this process and there isn't agreement, then it falls to the next step, right? This
Which is
doesn't
special
dictate
election.
that there's a must
Yeah.
happen. Obviously, it would be wonderful if it did.
Right,
But-
here's how that works. If by February 15th we don't appoint, then the superintendent of the county, Edwin Gomez, he will initiate that onto the district saying, now you must do special elections. So that's just the law. So we have 60 days. That was triggered on December 15th. Yeah, we only have two options. cut and dry. And I think I had a second by Mrs. Barclay.
Yes.
Got it. And then any other comments, Ms. Wursma? Okay. Okay, Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Wiersma,
Yes.
Komrosky.
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. Thank you, board. Wish everybody happy holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, all of it.
Dr. K, I just want to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
I just want to say I'm proud of the four of you. That was a great conversation. Great job. This is what it's like. Good job.
Thanks, Dr. Woods. The meeting is adjourned today, Monday, December 18th, 2023 at 10:08 a.m. Thank you.